Look around you for a moment. You'll notice something spreading through modern men like a quiet epidemic. And if you've paid attention, you've seen it everywhere. Today's men are obsessed with appearing harmless. Watch closely, you can see it in the way they shrink themselves. They soften their tone the moment they fear they sounded too firm. They bury their real opinions under layers of polite, agreeable nonsense. They laugh at jokes they don't actually find funny just to avoid friction. They pretend to be endlessly flexible, endlessly kind, endlessly understanding. Anything, absolutely anything, to ensure no one ever feels even slightly threatened by their presence. And if you ask them why they do this, they'll give you pretty, sanitized answers. I'm being respectful. I'm being polite. I don't want problems. But both of us know the truth behind that performance. It's fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of standing out. Fear of being judged. Fear of being viewed as too intense, too bold, too difficult to handle. They've convinced themselves that blending in is a virtue. That the world rewards men who make everyone comfortable. That being liked by strangers matters more than being respected by anyone meaningful. But then, there's you. You don't chase after people to clarify your intentions. You don't twist your personality into shapes that fit other people's comfort levels. You don't fold yourself to match the energy of the room. You move differently. You speak differently. You hold your ground differently. And the modern world only has one word for men like you: intimidating. You've heard it. Maybe not directly, but you've felt it in the way people react. He's cold. He's too serious. He's intense. I can't read him. But let me ask you something. Did you hurt anyone? Did you threaten them? Did you do anything to deserve being labeled dangerous? No. Your only crime is refusing to shrink. That alone is enough to make fragile people uncomfortable. If Niccolò Machiavelli were watching you today, he wouldn't care how friendly you appear on the surface. He wouldn't care about your smiles or your polite tone. He would ask only one question. Is this man easy to control? Because in a world built on pressure, manipulation, and subtle psychological warfare, the truly dangerous man is not the loud one, but the one who cannot be bent, bought, or bullied. That kind of man always disturbs the weak. Your calm in chaos unnerves people. Your refusal to explain yourself frustrates those who extract explanations from everyone else. Your ability to read through fakery and social games doesn't make you popular, it makes you threatening. And that's what this video is really about. Not fake toughness. Not performance masculinity. Not chest-puffing theatrics. This is about the darker, quieter qualities inside you, the ones born from scars, from experience, from survival. The ones that make others look away before you even speak. The ones that reveal who you've become without you saying a single word. Today, we're breaking down 7 signs that you possess a dangerous, intimidating personality through the cold, strategic framework Machiavelli himself would use. If you recognize these signs, understand something. You were never made to be a decorative, harmless figure placed on a shelf to collect dust. You were made to be the type of man people think twice about before they try to control. Before we continue, write this in the comments as your first active declaration. I choose strength over comfort. Let's begin. Sign 1, Eyes of Conviction. The first place a truly dangerous man reveals himself isn't in his voice, his posture, or the way he carries his shoulders. It's in his eyes. And if you're honest, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. Your eyes don't wander around the room, begging for social permission before you speak. They don't scan people's faces, searching for approval or validation. Your gaze is steady, controlled, unapologetically direct. When pressure enters the room, your eyes don't flicker with panic the way ordinary men's do. When someone tries to intimidate you, your eyes don't start hunting for an exit. Instead, they sharpen. They calculate. They process. Most men have eyes that plead for acceptance. Eyes that say, "I hope you're not upset with me. Please don't misunderstand. Please don't push me away." But your eyes? They don't ask for anything. Your presence hits people long before your words do. Imagine walking into a room, a meeting, a gathering, a normal day at work, and the moment you lock eyes with someone, they feel a weight. Not aggression. Not hostility. Just presence. A presence they can't ignore or dilute. Machiavelli would judge a man by this alone. Do his eyes belong to someone who chooses his own path? Or someone who waits for others to choose it for him? A man whose eyes constantly search for cues. What should I say? How should I react? What will everyone think? That man is built to be commanded. He is waiting for someone stronger to decide his next move. But a man whose eyes quietly declare, "I already know what I'm doing." That man is not easily ruled. He is not easily shaped. He is not easily owned. Your eyes have that certainty. That silent declaration of self-direction. And here's what happens because of it. When you look at people, they feel examined, not insulted, not attacked, but seen. Seen beyond their words. Seen beyond their performance. Seen beyond the masks they present to the world. Your gaze catches their insecurity hiding under their confidence. Their jealousy hiding behind their smile. Their lies sitting beneath their politeness. Their fear wrapped in their bravado. And that makes them deeply uncomfortable. So they default to the predictable comments. "Why do you look so serious?" "Relax, man. You're so intense." What they're really saying is, "Your eyes make me feel exposed. Please stop looking at me like that." The truth is simple. Most people today have empty eyes. Eyes drained by screens, overstimulation, distractions. Eyes that flash but never focus. Eyes trained on nothing real. Your eyes stand out because they're awake. Present. In a world where everyone is half distracted, half scattered, half alive. Focus itself becomes intimidating. You see people with a clarity they're no longer used to. You hold eye contact with a steadiness they can't match. You observe without flinching. And people react to that certainty the way prey reacts to a predator's gaze. They either freeze or look away. Your conviction announces itself before your mouth ever opens. It tells the world you're not seeking permission. You're not asking for validation. You're not trying to be accepted. And that's exactly why the weak find you dangerous. In a society full of hollow, wandering eyes, conviction looks like a threat. Write this affirmation in the comments. My gaze does not falter. Sign 2, you read people beyond their words. Here's something that separates you from almost everyone around you. Most people only hear what comes out of someone's mouth. You, on the other hand, you read everything that happens around the words. When someone speaks to you, you're not just listening to what they're saying. You're watching their patterns. You're tracking their shifts. You're studying the invisible. You notice the tiny hesitation right before someone lies. The way someone over-explains when they're hiding something. The sudden change in tone when they think the power dynamic has shifted. The inconsistency between the story they tell you and the energy their body reveals. You pick up what others miss, because you're not distracted by surface-level acting. Here's what truly sets you apart. You remember. You remember who only appears when they want something from you. You remember who disappears the moment you need support. You remember who becomes a completely different person depending on who's watching. You remember the small betrayals and the subtle loyalties. And here's the part that confuses people. You don't react to everything immediately. You don't expose them. You don't confront them. You don't blow up their facade. You just file the information away, quietly, precisely, permanently. You let people finish their performance, and then you adjust your distance. You stop sharing certain details. You stop opening up. You stop depending on them. You stop letting them near your inner world. No warnings. No speeches. No drama. Just strategic withdrawal. Machiavelli lived in a world full of hidden agendas, shifting loyalties, and knives disguised as friends. The men who survived the longest were the men who could read human nature with brutal clarity. You're doing the same, just in a modern setting. You watch for jealousy, for ambition, for fear, for loyalty, for desperation, for greed, for envy. People reveal these things unconsciously, and you pick up on every piece of it. Now, some might call that paranoia, but they're wrong. Paranoia sees threats that don't exist. Observation sees threats that do exist but remain invisible to the naive. You're not paranoid. You're perceptive. You've learned to trust tone more than words. Actions more than promises. Patterns more than explanations. Silence more than apologies. And manipulative people absolutely hate this about you. Because their usual weapons, guilt, charm, flattery, victim playing, emotional pressure, simply don't work on you. It's like watching someone try to pick a lock that isn't shaped the way they expect. None of their keys fit. So they accuse you of. You're too analytical. You're reading too much into this. You're too cold. You're overthinking. What they really mean is, I can't control you the way I control everyone else, and that scares me. Most people want to be believed without question. They want their words accepted as truth even when their actions contradict everything they claim. They want you to trust their mask, not their motives. But you've seen too much. You've learned too much. You've been burned too many times. So you trust patterns, not pretty sentences. And that alone makes you dangerous to people who rely on manipulation. Once you see the game, you can't be played the same way again. Once they realize you see through them, they stop seeing you as harmless. Write this affirmation in the comments. I see what others hide. Sign 3, your scars changed your aura. Let me tell you something most people will never understand about you. Your personality wasn't built in comfort, it was carved out of pressure, betrayal, and survival. Life didn't hand you strength as a gift. It forced it into your bones. You've tasted real financial pressure, the kind that keeps you staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., calculating numbers in the dark. The kind that makes basic purchases feel like tactical decisions. The kind that slowly reshapes your relationship with security. You've been betrayed by people you would have protected with your own life. People you defended when others doubted them. People you trusted without hesitation, only to discover they never stood beside you in the first place. You've endured failures that knocked the air out of your lungs. Losses that made you question everything, your choices, your identity, your direction. Moments where you didn't know if you'd ever get back up again. And the worst part? There were times when nobody came to rescue you. No safety net. No miracle. No friend with solutions. Just you, bleeding, exhausted, overwhelmed, and the choice to either break or rebuild. You chose to rebuild. Those experiences didn't give you lessons. They gave you armor. They recalibrated your nervous system. They changed how you interpret threats. They rewired how you trust people. They stripped away your illusions about fairness, loyalty, and intention. You stopped expecting the world to be kind. You stopped believing every smiling face was genuine. You stopped letting people freely access your inner world. Machiavelli understood something most people today can't grasp. A man who has never been tested is just a hypothesis. You cannot predict his loyalty, his strength, or his integrity under pressure. But a man who has survived storms, a man who has been pushed to the edge and clawed his way back, that man is not easily shaken ever again. And that's you. Even when you're quiet, you carry weight. People can feel it without understanding it. Your aura has density, gravity, history. You don't overreact to small drama because you've experienced real chaos. Someone whining about trivial problems barely registers for you. Someone melting down over minor inconveniences doesn't pull you into their emotional storm. Because you've fought actual battles alone. You've faced circumstances where the stakes were real, the consequences were heavy, and the outcome was uncertain. So now, when people bring you lightweight chaos, your expression says, "That's what you consider a problem?" And they feel that. They sense your resilience. They sense the depth they cannot match. They sense a history they don't understand. Soft people instinctively pull back because they can feel you've been through fires they've never walked near. They've been shielded, protected, pampered, told they're special simply for existing. But you weren't shaped by compliments, you were shaped by collisions. They call you guarded. They call you distant. They call you hardened. But they don't see what you've survived. They don't see the battles that forced you to evolve. They don't see the nights you navigated alone when no one else cared enough to check on you. You didn't build walls out of fear. You built them out of experience. And here's the truth most people can't handle. Your scars didn't make you bitter. They made you immune. And immunity always looks dangerous to the fragile. Write this affirmation in the comments. Pain turned me into power. Sign 4, you are comfortable with silence. Here's a test that separates you from almost everyone around you. Can you sit in complete silence for 5 straight minutes without reaching for your phone, turning on music, or forcing conversation? Most people can't. Silence is like a mirror, and they're terrified of what it reflects. But you treat silence like a weapon. You don't feel the need to talk just to fill space. You don't panic when things get quiet. You don't perform emotions to make others more comfortable. You can sit still, composed, grounded, completely unaffected. While everyone else rushes to break the quiet with nervous jokes, pointless chatter, or empty commentary, you remain exactly where you are. Calm. Present. Unmoved. And that's when something interesting happens. Your silence forces other people to reveal themselves. They start explaining things you never questioned. They overshare details you never requested. They laugh at things that weren't funny. They justify choices you didn't criticize. They begin filling the room with noise because your stillness exposes their anxiety. Your presence has weight, and when you choose not to speak, that weight sinks into the room. People can feel it. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. Real power often lies in what you withhold, not in what you express. A man who talks too much exposes his strategy. He reveals his weaknesses. He reveals his insecurities. He tells the world exactly how to influence him. But a man who listens more than he speaks, a man who controls his tongue, a man who chooses his words with precision, that man becomes unpredictable. And unpredictability is dangerous. You learned, whether through experience or instinct, that your words matter more when you use fewer of them. When you finally speak, your voice cuts through the noise like a blade. People pay attention because silence built the tension before your words arrived. But here's the part most people misunderstand. They think you're quiet because you're shy. They think you're quiet because you're uncomfortable. They think you're quiet because you don't know what to say. What they don't realize is that you're quiet because you're choosing to be. Silence is intentional for you. It's strategic. It's a filter, one that reveals the true nature of everyone around you. Your silence exposes their insecurity, their need for validation, their discomfort with their own thoughts, their dependence on noise to feel alive. You're not afraid to sit with yourself. You've faced your internal battles already, in quiet rooms where no one else was around to distract you. So silence doesn't threaten you, it strengthens you. Most people fear silence because it forces them to confront their inner emptiness. You welcome silence because you've already confronted your demons and refused to run. When a man is comfortable in silence, he doesn't need noise to prove his worth. He doesn't need attention to feel significant. He doesn't need to perform for anyone. And that's exactly why your silence makes weaker people nervous. Write this affirmation in the comments. Silence is my strength. Sign 5, you choose discomfort over safety. Let me ask you something directly. When was the last time you willingly stepped into something difficult when an easier path was sitting right in front of you? Most men today will sacrifice their potential just to stay comfortable. They'll destroy their discipline, their ambition, their confidence, all to avoid discomfort. They're addicted to ease, allergic to effort, and terrified of anything that challenges them. But you're built differently. You're willing to sacrifice comfort itself to become unbreakable. You train when your body wants rest. You work when your mind wants escape. You pursue goals that intimidate you. You accept challenges that humble you. You choose the route with friction, on purpose. And deep down, you already know why. You don't trust a life that feels too easy. You've learned that ease has a hidden cost. Comfort slowly drains your strength. It makes you dependent. It makes you fragile. It makes you predictable. Every time you pick the easy option, you lose a piece of the sharpness that makes you who you are. You've seen the consequences of comfort in people around you. Their bodies weakening. Their minds slowing. Their standards falling. Their willpower fading. So you reject it. You wake up earlier than you need to. You push through workouts that leave your muscles shaking. You take the riskier opportunity instead of the safe one. You face your fears instead of running from them. While everyone else is optimizing for pleasure, you're optimizing for resilience. Machiavelli wrote that the men who prepare during peace survive during war. You live by that principle without even thinking about it. You know storms always come. Life always tests you. Pressure always finds you. Chaos isn't an if, it's a when. And you refuse to be caught unprepared. Your discipline makes people uncomfortable because it exposes their excuses. Standing next to you highlights everything they've been avoiding. Your choices remind them of everything they've been running from. So what do? They label you. You're too disciplined. You're obsessed. You're intense. You're unbalanced. What they really mean is, your strength makes my weakness impossible to ignore. And because that truth hurts, they'd rather call you extreme than admit they've become soft. But here's what they'll never understand. You don't train for applause. You don't grind for validation. You don't choose discomfort for attention. You're not trying to prove anything to anyone. You're preparing yourself for life, for unpredictability, for pressure, for the moments when others collapse. When things get hard, most men panic because their comfort-conditioned minds have never been tested. But when things get hard for you, something else happens. You get calmer. Your mind sharpens. Your instinct takes over. Your training kicks in. Because you've already been choosing the hard path every day. Your discomfort is an investment, and it pays off when everyone else is looking for someone to save them. Write this affirmation in the comments. I grow where others quit. Sign 6. You are unaffected by opinions. Here's one of the fastest ways to control a man. Make him terrified of being disliked. Once he fears rejection, he becomes easy to manipulate. He'll bend his values to fit in. He'll silence his truth to stay accepted. He'll betray his own judgment just to avoid that sting of disapproval. Most men live their entire lives like this, prisoners of other people's opinions. But that strategy doesn't work on you anymore. You don't crumble when someone disagrees with you. You don't lose sleep because someone doesn't approve of your choices. You don't reshape your personality to match your audience. You've reached a point where other people's opinions no longer dictate your behavior. You say no without decorating it with guilt, apologies, or explanations. You enforce your boundaries without performing regret. You walk away from situations, people, and environments that drain you, even if others don't understand why. You've accepted a reality most people spend their whole lives avoiding. Some people will never understand you, and that's not your problem. They'll create stories about you that are completely wrong. They'll misinterpret your intentions. They'll judge decisions they don't have the context for. They'll project their insecurities onto your actions. And you've learned to let them. Machiavelli understood that men who depend on public approval can never hold real power. Why? Because the decisions that matter most, the ones that move your life forward, are rarely popular. If you need constant approval, you will avoid the very choices that make you stronger. You'll choose the crowd over your purpose. You'll choose comfort over truth. You'll choose acceptance over progress. But you've chosen a different path. You care deeply about the opinions of the select few who have proven their loyalty, earned your respect, and understand your mission. Their perspective matters. But the random opinions of people with no investment in your life? That's just background noise. And this infuriates people. They try guilt. They try shame. They try emotional leverage. They try the silent treatment. They try to twist your decisions into selfishness. But nothing works the way they expect. They realize something that unsettles them. I cannot control this man by withholding my approval. That's when the labels start flying. You're arrogant. You're cold. You're selfish. You're distant. Because in their world, a man who isn't controlled by public opinion must be defective. But you know the truth. Living for others is a silent prison. Seeking approval is an addiction with no finish line. Trying to please everyone forces you to betray yourself over and over again. You'd rather respect yourself than be liked by people who don't even know who they are. You're not trying to be the hero in anyone else's story. You're not afraid to be the villain in theirs if it means staying aligned with your path. Once opinions lose their power over you, people lose their power over you. And that always makes you appear dangerous. Write this affirmation in the comments. I follow my code, not their approval. Sign 7. You carry an air of mystery. We live in an era where people broadcast every detail of their lives. Every emotion, every meal, every argument, every insecurity, every thought, all dumped online for strangers to witness. Oversharing is the new addiction. People feel invisible unless someone is watching them. But you're different. You don't reveal your entire life story to someone you just met. You don't spill your emotions to earn sympathy. You don't announce your plans before they're ready. You share selectively, intentionally, never impulsively. And in a world where exposure is normal, privacy becomes power. People can't figure you out because you don't hand them the map. They don't know your past in detail. They don't know what truly broke you. They don't know what rebuilt you. They don't know what you're planning quietly in the background. They don't know how far you're willing to go if someone crosses a line. You give them the surface, nothing more. And that unsettles them. Machiavelli believed secrecy was a form of leverage. The less people know about your motives and capabilities, the harder it is for them to predict you. The harder it is for them to control you. The harder it is for them to prepare for you. The modern world encourages men to expose their vulnerabilities to anyone willing to listen. But you've learned the cost of that. You've seen how people weaponize your personal details, your weaknesses, your fears, your dreams. So you refuse to hand anyone that kind of ammunition. Your mystery is not an act, it's a defense system built from history. You don't hide because you're ashamed. You hide because you understand human nature. You hide because you've seen how easily trust can be exploited. You hide because you know that not everyone deserves access to the deepest parts of you. And here's what people feel when they're around you. Uncertainty. They can't predict you. They don't know how you'll react. They can't guess your boundaries. They can't anticipate your limits. They can't see your full intentions. And that makes them cautious. When someone can't read you, they can't dismiss you. They can't underestimate you. They can't categorize you. Suddenly, they treat you with a level of respect they don't give to open books. Because you're not decoration, you're a variable. A question mark. A possibility. People feel slightly tense around you, not because you've done something wrong, but because their mind keeps asking, who exactly is this man? What is he capable of? What am I not seeing? How far would he go if pushed? Uncertainty creates respect, and you generate a lot of it. Mystery forces people to move carefully around you. It forces them to consider your presence. It forces them to think twice before overstepping. You don't reveal your depth. You don't broadcast your blueprint. You don't hand out your strategy. You let people see only what you allow. And that's why they call you mysterious. Write this affirmation in the comments. What they don't know protects me. Let's step back and look at everything we've uncovered. These 7 signs, the unwavering focus in your eyes, the ability to read people beneath their surface, the inner strength shaped by your past wounds, your ease with silence, your preference for the harder path, your indifference to shallow opinions, and the air of mystery you naturally carry, point to one truth. You aren't someone who bends easily. You aren't someone who sells out. You aren't someone who crumbles. And in a world powered by manipulation, pressure, and subtle control, that alone makes you a threat to the weak. But there's something crucial you must understand. Raw danger without discipline is destruction. A man with power but no self-control ends up burning his own life down first. He becomes unpredictable, reckless, and self-sabotaging. A man who wields his strength with intention, however, a man who has sharpened himself, who moves with purpose, who understands timing, that man changes the balance of every room he enters. So if you saw yourself in these signs, stop apologizing for the way life has shaped you. Stop letting people shame you for qualities they can't handle. You weren't made to be agreeable decoration. You weren't built to be someone everyone feels comfortable around. You were built to endure pressure that others collapse under, to see truth others hide from, to stay centered when the world shakes, to operate from strength, not fear. The world doesn't need more soft, approval-hungry men. It needs men who don't fold at the slightest push. Men who can't be pulled around by guilt. Men who can stand alone if needed. So refine the edge you already have. Aim it at something that matters. And if you want to keep developing this mindset, this discipline, and this strategic way of operating, stay here. There's more coming, and most people aren't ready for it. Repeat this to yourself. I am built unbreakable.